Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be reviewing the new GMC Yukon. This one is a Denali and it's the XL. Before we get into this video, a huge shout out and thank you to the Provo GMC for giving me some time with this truck. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Alec. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a 6.2 liter V8 naturally aspirated that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 14 around town, and then 18 on the highway with power outputs, being 420 horsepower and then 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you need some more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see it's raised there on either side. I think that's a pretty cool design, makes it look a little bit more muscular. Now the new headlight design is pretty crazy looking. It almost looks like a split light design, but it is all kind of like one unit. And you've got the massive grille here with the brushed finish. You can see a little camera there kind of like lower down on the grille. We do have fog lights here on either side with it. And yeah, fancy looking. I mean, it is a Denali. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 275 by 50 by 22 in the front and over in the rear. And you can see here with the wheels, you've got mostly kind of like silver trim there on the top, then you got a little bit of metallic gray built in as well. We have our GMC logo here on the side. You can see Denali below that. And look at the chrome trim that goes across. And taking a few steps back, oh, look at that, cool side profile. Now this leads us to the key fob where we've got our lock and unlock function. We have the remote start opening for the hatch and then also for the window there in the back. Got the GMC logo. Pop up in the hatch here. And did I not press it enough times? There we go. Sometimes you just gotta have the magic touch. Now being the XL, this is kind of like the Suburban, right? So tons of storage space here in the rear. We also have more storage underneath as well. And then you can see here with the outlet for the seats to fold those down. And then that function here in the very back folds and lowers the, so this is for the second row, that is for the third row. So third row is fully automated. It's a nice feature to have. But yeah, tons of storage space here in the rear. When you're all done, it's on here. You've got the button to lower the hatch right there. And then taking a look at the taillights, this is where this doesn't really look too different compared to before. The headlights are definitely a much bigger departure, but still kind of a little bit more modern, a little bit more futuristic looking. And then the exhaust tips definitely look quite a bit different. So that's interesting. But other than that, when you look at this, again, like I said, from the rear, you might not be able to tell the difference. Now this leads us inside where we've got really nice stitching, and you can see the wood trim there as well. And then we got all that cross stitching below that. And then here are these seats. Pretty cool with all of the trim. We've got all of our adjustments here on the side. And then you got those nice side steps to help out with getting in. You also have a grab handle, so getting in is very easy. We do have good legroom, got a little storage pocket. This one has the TVs in the back. And then down below, you can see we've got our analog controls here for the climate. We also have for the heated seats, USB ports as well. And yeah, I do like these seats. They're nice with all the cross stitching and perforated leather. It's really nice. And then the third row, actually, they continue the theme with nice seats. Now you can easily fit adults back here. You can see there's plenty of legroom. Oop, bump the camera. Plenty of legroom there in the rear. See a little charging port and everything there. And they do have ventilation, and they kind of raise it there in the back with the roof line to help out with headroom. And then popping up front, you guys can see here with all of the soft touch trim and the stitching and the wood trim down below. And we've got more of that cross stitching. All of our window controls, front two are automatic. The mirrors do power fold in. We've got our memory seat function, and blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. Popping down below, $1,431 for the payload, $7,800 for the towing capacity. And then here's the front seat, getting Denali there, perforated all down the center. Got all of your adjustments here on the side. And then there's so many controls here. So for the parking brake, for the drive line select, does have a 2-speed transfer case, by the way, as well as 4-wheel drive auto. Drive mode select, light controls, trailer brake controls integrated. And then we've got this for the 360 camera, your stability control, hill descent, parking sensors, auto stop start, parking assist, lane departure. All of that is here on the side. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, you can see this is equipped with Super Cruise, which is always a nice feature. You've got a lot of the controls for that right there. Heated steering wheel on the steering wheel, controls for the center. There's paddle shifters here on the back, as well as radio controls below the paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. And then you've got your little turn signal / windshield wiper stalk, and this has a column shifter now. Now here is the center gauge cluster, which fully digital means that you can go through and change what information it shows. And this kind of gives you an idea of real world glare with the screen. There's one thing I've noticed about these digital gauge clusters, right, compared to the old analog ones. The old analog ones, not being a screen, didn't have any glare. This also comes equipped with a 360 camera system. So you can see I have a bunch of different angles here with the Yukon, which is great. And then as for the infotainment system, this is very interesting if you ask me. So it's kind of like a chunky vertical layout. What I mean by that is it's pretty wide. Actually, a lot of the vertical infotainment systems are pretty narrow, but this is pretty wide. It's got quick response time, shortcut bars for different functions. It's actually easy to use, but again, being a blacked out screen, you got a little bit of glare depending on the time of the day. And then you can see there's more shortcut buttons here at the bottom for like the climate. So for example, with the seats, if I want to turn on the heated or cooled seats, got a little shortcut for that, also for the volume. So they make that all easy. And then there are physical tabs here, but notice that the tabs on the icons, because they control, well, not control, but they have their animations there partially on the screen. Then we do have this little storage area here with the wireless phone charging pad, some cup holders here, and then got the wood trim there. Nice soft touch here on the side. Denali here at the center console. More storage inside. And then the dash is kind of interesting, so you can see with the stitching and everything all across. I also have the heads-up display as well. And then look at this. There's a little storage cubby there. It's right above the infotainment system. But more of that stitching and everything all across. And then we do just have a regular glove box. Camera, rear view mirror, and then we do have a panoramic sunroof. Now this doesn't have the like final window sticker thing, but anyways, this one stickers for almost $97,000 as equipped. Let's see how it performs. Well, let us set off in the new Denali. By the way, heads-up display. Also, visibility isn't really different. The way that I see this is, I see it as kind of like a, some people might be offended by this, but like a heavy refresh rather than a full-on redesign. I mean, again, it does have some different elements, like for example, the screen and the gauge cluster and the lights and everything, but ultimately, a lot of this is pretty similar to before. I mean, even where a lot of the controls are located and all that. So yeah, it's GM's new digital future, I guess is what we will refer to this as, because they're going digital with everything. But still see how it performs. And in a comparison I do want to get in the future is the Escalade versus this 25 Escalade versus 25 Yukon. I think that'll be a fun comparison. Smooth. 6.2 V8 strong. I drove a Tahoe, a couple Tahoes with the 5.3, and you do notice a pretty big difference with 6.2 versus 5.3. 5.3 you've got to kind of ring it out a little bit more versus the 6.2. It's got so much more torque that you still get into it, but not nearly as much. Not nearly as much. And the 6.2 is not really any louder, so you don't lose any refinement by going to the bigger engine. And the fuel economy is super similar too. It's like there's no downside to the 6.2 other than it's more expensive. Yeah, it is really smooth. 10-speed helps out with that quite substantially. And you can just, again, you can just relax at low RPMs with this. And the suspension's good, and this doesn't have, I don't think this has the air suspension. I don't see any adjustment for it, so I'm guessing it just has the, what do they call it, the magnetic ride control, or MagneRide. I always get Ford's and GM's, even though they're very similar systems, I always get the names mixed up. I think it's magnetic ride control with GM, if I remember right. This ain't bad. This ain't bad. Ooh. That's what I'm talking about. Like I said, lots of torque. Lots of torque. Big horsepower too. It's a beast of an engine. Yeah, 6.2 V8. Can't go wrong with that. So to cap things off with this review, drives well. It's got lots of cool new stuff, right? It's definitely way more techy, so some of you might like that, some of you might not. It just depends on your preference. But the biggest thing that I really do want to see is how that new diesel performs in these full-size GM SUVs. But either way, let me know what you guys think about the new Denali, and 96 grand for a Denali. That's where we're at nowadays, so that means the fully loaded ones are easily going to be over 6 figures. What a time to be alive.